So, David, what do you see here when you have access to Magic Student?
Yeah, so the tools that you made available for this particular room, when you launch it, the the only things that are available are the tools that you had added in that area. Um, so one thing that's important to point out is you can see that the screen that I have as the student, there's really not a whole lot to it. You're not getting access to a lot of the things other than the magic tools that have been assigned to you. So where this would differ from what we're used to with the teacher side is that you have all those tools available to you. And then when I'm in this student room, I only have the four. And then I do have my output history as well. So things that, the conversations that I had started with the tools that were available will get funneled into this area. So it's a really simplified version of what's available to the student. And so, for one, Jeremy made Reina for Students available. And so, very similarly to what we have with Reina in our teacher version as well, is you have the ability for students to have conversations with the chatbot. So I could always do something from scratch here if I, say I need to study for a chemistry is you know, pretty simple. I'll just keep it at that, and then just to show that it's going to get started, and then it'll say, Raina will say, "That's great. Chemistry can be a fascinating subject. How can I assist you with studying for your quiz?" And so you can carry on the conversation from there as the student. One thing that's really great that was added is this accessibility feature, which is the speak button. And so if I want to select speak, it's going to read it. Okay, so you can hear the chatbot basically reading that out for me if I need it to do that. You also have, like I said, you can carry on the conversation. You have the action buttons. And so there are a few things here: clarify, summarize, length, changing some of those things, and then the translate button too. So if I was to want to translate this, and let's say I want to do into Spanish, I can have it translate that. And then what's great is the speak button will still be there. So then I can click that. Okay, so for students that might need that, that option is there, which is really great. And so that's just seeing the chatbot in action uh, with Magic School Student. The second thing I want to show is the writing feedback. So the writing feedback, and luckily I didn't have to write a whole paper, but I had ChatGPT write a paper for me in seventh grade. So I should probably point out real quick here with the writing feedback, our we can indicate what grade level we're in, what the assignment is, what kind of specific feedback we want, and then put the writing here. One thing that's pretty cool about this is that if Jeremy would have given me a rubric for this writing, I could insert it here and upload those conditions, the rubric scores into that section, and then it will base it off of the rubric. So whether it's regular feedback, just in a general sense, or more pointed feedback the um, based on what is required of me as the student, I can put that in there. So for this, I'm just going to do seventh grade, and we're going to say that it is a paper on organisms. We're not going to give it any specific feedback. We're going to see the general version, but then I'll copy this in there. Okay. And then I'll hit generate, and it's going to give me as the student feedback on what I should maybe work on. And as we've talked about in some of our trainings and in our videos in the past too, for integrate this is the the importance of trying to reduce teacher workload. And so this would be one way to do that, because if a student has to write several iterations of a paper and this was more like their rough draft, this is a great way for them to get some initial feedback to strengthen their paper before they turn in the final version to the teacher. And one thing that I like about this is that if you're guiding them through this process and they're doing it through Magic School, um, they're only going to get the recommendations and then try to apply those to their paper and then turn that in. And we're still avoiding them, having it write it for them and those type of things. And we're only giving them those things available that will help aid them in making their work more complete or better. So that's the
Would you
writing
say
feedback.
would you say this might be I know it's just specific to that particular tool, but that could be a good way for a student to be able to get some sort of peer review to their paper before they turn it in too.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Um, yeah, you could even do like maybe you have two students work together and you have them review each other's papers, and then you also have them upload it and see what the AI can generate as far as feedback goes, and then they can apply both, the AI, uh, I guess, peer evaluation, and then also the peer evaluation of another student too. So you have kind of two different versions going on, um, and then can help them strengthen it. Um, if so, let's say that I need to get back to that. Let's say that I closed out of that, but I do need to see that feedback again. So because I went away from it when I, wasn't working on my paper. Again, if you go back to output history, that's where this is going to be. So I can view what took place, or I can continue that thread from there as well and continue having my conversation about strengthening my paper. So this is a really good feature for students to be able to jump back in or just review what took place previously for anything that was done when they were working with these tools.
Okay, I'm going to
Um,
pause you for a moment here, right?
yeah.
I'm going to
Yep.
switch it back to the teacher thing.
Okay.
Um, because one of the things that I am able to do here while David is working on that, I'm able to see what David's use of AI has been and see what his output has been. So I open it up, and just as David had that output history just for himself, I can go into each individual student and view what their output history is well. And if it's something that I think is inappropriate, I can delete that thread. Or if I think David's actions maybe have gone against that code of conduct that we talked about before, I also have the ability here for David that I can go in and I can assign him to be paused. So if I pause David in the middle of what he's working on, it comes up. He can still see his screen. He can still tell he's in Magic School. But David, are you able to do anything with it?
No, I can't. It's paused. And
Right. So now me as the teacher, I would go over and say, "Hey, David, I saw you were getting a little bit distracted by what you were doing, you know, not, and it's maybe inappropriate, maybe not, but hey, remember the code of conduct that you signed. I'm going to go back and I'm going to unpause you now, and I want you to think about that and work more appropriately." So I go back to the teacher version here, and I hit resume once again. And now that you can see, David is trying to suck up a little bit more, and suggesting that I am just so cool. That's the way to brown nose, right?
yeah.
So that's an important thing to be able to be aware of as a teacher as well, that you have those different abilities. So, David, here, like, let's show one more tool here. We have the step-by-step tool that you should be unpaused here now. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. So if I go into the step-by-step one here, um, Jeremy had shared with me a something like an assignment that needs to be done. And so this one's on creating a stop motion animation. So as the student, I'm just going to put in here, I need to create a stop motion animation showcasing the different stages of mitosis using clay models or drawings. I need step by step directions to accomplish this. And I'll hit generate. And then it will give me some step by step pointers on how I can start that process and progress through that. So that's a really good feature. And obviously, this is just one example. So this could be applied in any content area, anything that the students might be doing to help them start the planning process and then check these off as they go through and complete it.